Thank you, Robin. And my place here is to talk about the border. And 2019 was a great year from the border's perspective, and we want to thank you because every time you receive a report and provide input, every time you participate in a meeting, when you talk about our projects, when you go to Mexico City, you are helping us and are helping our region. As you remember, last year we started with the opening of the full service of the South Bay Rapid that connects the border in the new transit center at Otay Mesa to downtown San Diego, passing through the eastern communities of Chula Vista, my city. And also on that geographic area, last year in February, we received the news that the new presidential permit for the Otay Mesa East border crossing was published. That's a huge accomplishment, and I want to recognize our partners from Caltrans on this. And all of your support, we receive letters of support, we receive, well, you advocated on our project. Along the lines, also in July of last year, we celebrated the groundbreaking ceremony for the last segment of State Route 11, which is a highway that will connect to the new border crossing. But I want to remind you that it's not only connecting the new border crossing, but it's also connecting to the southern portion of the State Route 125, our South Bay South Bay Express, which is going to have all the connectors completed at the end of this project. And I want to make a reference to a big project. This is a federal project, the Modernization and Expansion project of San Ysidro Port of Entry. It was a project of $800 million invested in our region. And just to give you the magnitude, 1 of every 10 people that enter into the United States through any seaport, any airport, or any land port of entry along the border with Mexico or with Canada, do so through San Ysidro. So it was a huge project for our region, and us contributed by modernizing the blue line of the trolley, the intermodal transit center at San Ysidro, and working together with other partners, we created a new transit center at the Virginia Avenue. All this is very important if you take in consideration that the new free trade agreement with Mexico and Canada is almost signed, or is going to be signed very soon. And also, as Robin just mentioned, the new, the reestablishment of the Commission of the Californias is going to be very interesting, and is anticipating a new critical year for the border on 2020. And let me just reference to the work on the tribal side. You participated in several meetings with the leadership of the Southern California Tribal Chairmen's Association, but we also held the first annual symposium with the tribes. And with this, I complete my report.
Thank you.
Testing Executive Committee, January 10th, 2020.
We're going to get to work. Good morning. Item number 1 on our agenda today involves a performance evaluation of the Sandag Executive Director. This item will be held in closed session. However, before the committee goes into closed session, we'll take public comment on this one item only. We have one speaker, Jack Hsu. Take it away.
Thank you, Chairman Voss, and I promise I would only take no more than 2 minutes. And I just wanted to bring up a few things about the evaluation of Hassan. And I'm not here because I agree with his positions and his 5 big moves and all that. I just want to bring up some other information as you consider how he did this last year. He had to deal with delaying RTP. I don't think any other MPO company has had to deal with that. Preserving federal funding at the last minute. A remarkable job by the Sandag staff and his engineering of how to work that out with Washington. New state rules. We may not like them, but it's a huge step for any MPO to have to handle what's coming down from the state in terms of greenhouse gas emissions and transportation needs. And finally, our constituents, your constituents, still working with the past and not understanding all these changes. These are huge steps for anyone to have to deal with, for you to deal with. And lastly, and I hope I don't offend anyone here, I may have offended you in the past, but you know, you guys don't get along very well. We're very polarized, and the Sandag board is very polarized. and for any executive director to handle all of you guys and still try to make some headway and move forward with a legal RTP and public participation is a huge undertaking. And regardless of how much money we pay Hassan, it's a huge job. And take all that into consideration as you consider how you did this last year. And I would be saying this if this executive director disagreed with all my ideas about how we should move ahead with transportation. He's undertaken a very hard job and I think done pretty well. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jack. The executive committee will now go into closed session. Everyone other than primary voting members should now leave the room. We hope to reconvene into open session in about 30 minutes would be my guess.
Oh, man. Could have slept in. Huh?
You could?
They could. Second.
Thank you. Please vote. Our system.
I would like to note that we haven't had an executive meeting since September.
Are we not working again now?
3 months.
Yes.
Vote by hand, please. Vote to approve.
Good.
Public comment, we have none. Executive Director's report, none. Consent, no action. Questions, okay. Reports, review of draft board agenda. As quickly as possible.
I will try. Okay, so for January 17th, we are proposing to have a joint Board of Directors Transportation and Regional Planning Committee. On that agenda, we have public comment followed by Policy Advisory Committee's Chair's Report, which is item number 2, followed by item number 3, which is the Executive Director's Report. Under reports, we'll have one report, and this is 2021 Regional Plan Overview of our local economy, where we'll be putting together a panel of experts who are representing industries that drive our economy, and they'll be being brought in to provide their perspectives on opportunities and suggestions for us to consider during the development of the Regional Transportation Plan.
I have a comment on Transportation Committee agenda for both January 17th and February 14th. There are two presentations. One's on the local economy, going to be the biggest presentation on the 17th, and then there's going to be one on vehicle miles traveled, greenhouse gas emissions, and requirements there. As part of those presentations, I noticed they're saying there's a thing in a note at the bottom that says no votes will be taken. I would like these items to both be discuss and advise. Instead of just, I don't want a one-way conversation. I don't drive down to have one-way conversation, so I want to be discussed and advised. And if there's a vote taken, so be it. If there's not, that's fine. But I just don't want a one-way conversation in those Transportation Committee meetings.
Any other thoughts on that? I'm fine with making that change.
Thank you. Yeah, it may not change anything, but I don't want to be told at the beginning
You all right?
you have no say.
Okay. Anything else?
And that's also going to be a February 7th transportation meeting as well, where we are going to be addressing the year, the things that we want to hear and programs that we want to have in topics of discussion on February 7th. So I noticed that's not in here, so there will be a meeting on February 7th as well for transportation.
Okay.
I just have one question about that item, number 4. What will we be voting on? Looks like it's a panel, it's an overview. Now, are we voting on a plan, or is it a plan already set in place that we are looking at an overview?
We're not planning to vote on anything, but I think.
I want to discuss and advise.
Those
I want the option to do that if that's necessary, as opposed
Will we
to.
do that in informational items?
True, and I want that change from information to discuss and advise, is what I'm asking.
Okay.
Go ahead, Vic.
All right, so then that brings us to the draft board agenda for January 24th. The first item is public comments, followed by Policy Advisory Committee Chair Report. Item number 3 is the Executive Director's Report. Under consent, we have item number 4, which is approval of proposed solicitations and contracts. Item number 5 is the actions from policy advisory committees. Item number 6 is the 2020 Performance Management Rule 1 target setting. This is in conjunction with the FAST Act. Item number 7 is the executive director's delegated actions, where we'll be providing information on that. Item number 8 is the standard meetings and events attended on behalf of Sandag. Under Chair's report, we plan to bring to you the Strategic Plan Subcommittee to approve the Strategic Plan Subcommittee. The subcommittee will develop recommendations for the vision and mission for Sandag in the 2020 performance goals for the executive director adopted by the board. Under reports, we have an MOU with the San Diego Airport, Port of San Diego, and City of San Diego regarding the airport connectivity project. We'll be looking for an approved. Item number 11 is a primer on big data, harnessing the benefits of data-powered governance. Ray will be providing a report with Sanjeev on big data and using the analytics to drive policy and public engagement. That concludes this agenda. And then in addition, staff would also like to add an additional item, which we be inviting the board members to go up to the Vision Lab to learn more about the regional transportation plan. And we need to add this to the agenda in case there's a forum so that we can comply with Brown Act. But we will be hosting a forum with staff so that you can learn more about the development of the plan.
Very good. Moving on. All right.
Oh, sorry. Item number 6C. That's what we discussed, and that's the draft February 14th board policy meeting agenda, and there's a closed session for the executive director's report, which would be followed by a joint board of directors transportation regional planning committee meeting. Under that one, we have the public comments, item number 1, followed by policy advisory committees, item number 2, standard executive director's report provided by Hassan, and then at this meeting, we'll be providing some information related to the overview of air quality, vehicle miles traveled, and greenhouse gas emissions requirements as it's related to the regional transportation plan. We will have panelists that will provide some perspectives on how things have changed since the last adoption of the previous regional transportation plan. And then item number 5 is a primer on modeling, which will be an information report provided by Ray to look at how VMT and greenhouse gas reductions correlate with our models and tools.
What times are you setting for the February 14th meeting? My concern is having enough time for the executive director. Do we have?
It's the 24th. I know. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's the 14th. I misspoke earlier. What are we saying on time for those meetings?
Plans to start all of the meetings at 9 o'clock, so on the 14th specifically, closed session would start at 9, and then we can start the joint session at 10 o'clock.
Okay. We think an hour is enough.
For the executive director's review, or that's the
Right.
24th of January.
Yeah. Right, it's 14th?
This is February 14th.
Yeah, I misspoke
Oh, we're
earlier.
not having, I thought it was going to be,
No.
so are we having a meeting on January 24th?
Yeah, that's what we just approved the
I guess I had assumed that we were doing our executive director's review at that meeting,
So if you want to move some items.
as opposed to doing it when we had the big joint meeting.
Don't you have people scheduled to come?
Yeah,
I mean,
On the,
so
on
is
the,
it,
the 20, on the
is it,
14th?
is it,
on the 14th.
Yeah, and do we have somebody scheduled to come on the 14th to speak?
On the 14th of February?
Yes.
Yes, we have somebody from CARB coming, and also
Office of Planning and Research from California.
so that's probably hard to move, right? Because those are busy people who are flying here? Yeah.
So should we do the executive directors on January 24th?
Yeah, just worried about the length of the agenda. How are we feeling about that?
Right, and the 24th I won't be here.
But why are we moving it at all? Why don't we leave it the way it says
Okay.
here?
I agree.
Okay. I just want to be sure,
We'll start at 8.
start at 8, but I would say there's a chance it may run.
On the 24th, I will not be here either,
Okay.
but you don't need me here for the others. I'll be in Washington with Matt Faulkner.
Okay,
That's where I'll be as well.
there you go. So we'll
That's
do it
why
on the
original-
14th.
The mayor asked it to be moved.
So it's on the 14th. We just need to be sure that we have enough time for the full discussion.
And are we having a executive meeting in February?
Executive committee would be,
Yes.
yeah.
It was going to be at 8 o'clock, with board starting at 9, so if we need to adjust those times, schedule special.
Okay, I just want to, because I noticed we're scheduling February already, and normally we do that at the executive meeting in February. So I just want to make sure that we're still having an exec meeting in February as well.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
So this item is the approval of only board attendance. That's why you're not seeing transportation or exec. Not that they're missing or
Okay.
not having them, it's just.
But your question was whether an hour is enough, right?
Right.
And I think, I
No.
think it probably, you don't think it is. You think we need 2?
We took a half hour, 4 to 5 of us.
90 minutes?
Yeah, 90 minutes?
Yeah.
It could be quite a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Everyone's going to want to weigh in.
Okay. Moving on. Big Stone waiver of transportation model lifecycle policy for New Service Bureau of Transportation. Carol?
Did we get a final vote on all the agendas?
Oh. I move to approve the agendas.
Second.
With the
Thank you.
recommendations?
Please vote. Hand vote.
Unanimous?
That's it. All in favor? Monica? Yeah, good. Okay. Cheryl?
Yes, good morning. I usually come and talk with you about the financial performance of the Service Bureau. Today's a little bit different topic. It's about the transportation modeling policy as part of Board Policy 12. And sitting with me today is Rick Curry. He's the manager of the Transportation Analysis and Applications Division of our modeling group here. Just in case there are any technical questions, he can help answer those. So many of you are familiar with the Service Bureau. It's a fee-based operation, provides informational and technical services to public and private sector, and the executive committee is the governing body of the Service Bureau. The vast majority of the projects that we do are transportation modeling. So Sandag Board Policy 12 provides our policy guidelines for the work we do. And in 2018, that policy was amended to include language for what we are calling a transportation lifecycle policy, which allows the Service Bureau to retire older models as they get dated with information. It states that the Service Bureau will support the current version of the travel demand model that is adopted by the Board of Directors as part of a regional plan and one previous version. So the policy also, and this is the point of today's item, it requires that all new requests for transportation modeling services through the Service Bureau be conducted using the current version of the model. So the current version of the model is what we're calling Activity-Based Model 2. Okay, that was part of the 2019 Federal Regional Transportation Plan that was adopted in November. The most current previous version is ABM 1, which was part of the 2015 Regional Plan. According to the policy, Service Bureau can use both of those models. Now, ABM 2 can be used to produce data on vehicle miles traveled, transportation flow distribution, and even modifications to the transportation network. However, the model does not include the functionality needed to modify land uses to test different land use alternatives, such as densifying housing or community plan update, for instance. This functionality was not included in ABM 2 due to the unusual circumstance of accelerating the time schedule for the federal RTP to ensure the federal transportation funds were not jeopardized. So as the governing body of the Service Bureau, we're asking for a temporary waiver of the enforcement of the requirement that all new projects use the current version of the model. This would allow new projects that need land use modifications to be able to use the previous model, the ABM 1. Once the 2021 regional plan is adopted, we would use the model associated with that plan for all new work. And we're currently taking steps right now to ensure that the functionality is included in that model, so we'll be ready when that model is ready and adopted by the board. Without this waiver, the Service Bureau will not be able to accept any new projects that require land use modification, as the services are beyond the ABM 2. So And we did check with two of our biggest customers, the City of San Diego and the County of San Diego, and they are supportive of this waiver. So the action is, the Executive Committee is asked to approve a waiver of the enforcement of the Transportation Model Lifecycle Policy as stated in Sandag Board Policy Number 12 until the 2021 Regional Plan is adopted by the Board of Directors. Here's my report.
Thanks, Cheryl. Any comments, questions, otherwise looking for a motion? So moved.
Second.
Jim, comments, questions?
Aye.
Aye.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
By hand, please. Thank you. Ledge status report. Robin and Lori, thanks, Cheryl.
All right, good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. We have more of our team to join us today because we wanted to take some time to recognize what we accomplished last year. There's been a lot going on, and we're about to get started for 2020, and so we wanted to kind of give you a wrap-up of everything that we've been working on in partnership with you and your staff. As you know, every year the Executive Committee considers a legislative program, which we then take to the board for final approval, and that really guides the work that the government relations team does throughout the year. We will be bringing that 2020 Ledge program to this committee in February, and so we wanted to kind of start to plant some seeds and let you know where we've been and where we're going. I will say a lot of our time last year was really spent on kind of reestablishing ourselves and rebuilding existing and new relationships. We had new administrations both in Sacramento and in Baja California. And so with a lot of the help of members in this room and our executive staff, we made trips, had meetings, invited folks down here to build and develop relationships with both the Newsom administration in Sacramento and the Governor Bonilla from Baja California. Thankfully, we also had a new executive director that has quite an extensive contact list, and so that was helping us to get into rooms that we've never been in before and have conversations and be part of policy discussions that in the past we weren't able to help inform. Like I said, our board members played a large role in this. You joined us on many trips to Sacramento, DC, Tijuana, Mexico City, to visit the tribes throughout the San Diego region, and we also welcomed high-level delegations to San Diego in the last year. We had Governor Newsom come down twice for press conferences. I don't think Governor Brown came down even once in his last administration. The new California Secretary of Transportation, David Kim, also came down for several visits to learn more about the region and our priority projects. We had Governor Bonilla come with his delegation at least 2 or 3 times, and members of our federal delegation, of course, come down, as well as staff from the Housing and Urban Development Department to learn more about what's going on with housing in San Diego. Through these meetings, we talked about the regional plan, we talked about housing needs, regional funding needs, our priority projects, the federal reauthorization that's coming up this year, and transportation policy in general. So the culmination of these efforts really contributed to some pretty key, significant accomplishments, and our team's going to take some time today to briefly outline some of those for you.
Lori.
I'll take it from the federal perspective. This year, or 2019, from a federal perspective, was a very busy one. It was a very busy and interesting year over there, and I just wanted to create lay out a few highlights from 2019. But without further ado, I just wanted to say this was my first year in government relations, and I just wanted to thank all the board members and those I got to travel with and work with, and it was a pleasure getting to know you, and I look forward to doing so in 2020 as well and working alongside of you. Robin mentioned, we just really appreciate you taking the time away from the issues from your city and bringing the regional perspective into light, because when you travel with us, be it Sacramento, DC, Mexico City, or just around the region, you really are bringing a spotlight to some of our major regional issues. So we just thank you for doing that as well. So to bring to highlight a few critical items from 2019, I'll start with Midcoast. In 2019, we were seamlessly able to deliver $100 million for San Diego's largest transportation capital project, the Midcoast trolley extension. That's a major, major feat, keeping that project on budget and on schedule. We were able to work with our congressional delegates over in DC and here in San Diego to make sure that they know that this project is a priority of ours and to make sure that we get the resources we need to deliver this project on time. I'll turn to the safe vehicles rule. For those that need a bit of a jog in the memory, that was the ruling through the Environmental Protection Agency and the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration that basically rolled back California's stricter vehicle emissions rules. As an agency, we were able to track this ruling, making sure that our congressional delegates knew the impacts of the ruling, the potential impacts for the ruling. And as a region, we were able to safely navigate and mitigate for risk so that we didn't lose millions of dollars in federal and state funding. I'll turn to NAVWAR for a second. With Victoria leading the charge on NAVWAR and with your support, we've been able to establish an unprecedented relationship with the Navy. That relationship will only continue to grow in this next year. So we anticipate great movement on that project, and thank you in advance for continuing to push that major project of ours. And then finally, I wanted to highlight the authorization process. The authorization, as you all know, the FAST Act will expire this year. And so we've been working diligently with our congressional delegates and with our board to identify issues and items that we want to see in the next reauthorization bill. It takes a lot of work to put input into that long-term funding bill. And we hope to push items like TOD, AV planning, certain funding programs, and make sure that those are included in the next authorization bill. So with that, I'll just say, I know Robin will mention our 2020 legislative program. I'm super excited, super energized, and invigorated to work on this next year's program and see how we can advance our priority projects with Sandag and alongside you guys. So thank you. I'll turn it over to Robin.
Thanks.
Yeah, just to wrap it up, so thank you again. Hopefully you've seen we've done a lot of work over the last year. We remain committed to doing the same in this year. As a result of those efforts and the efforts of the board, really, the steps that you took in the last year to advance a truly visionary 2021 regional plan and the steps that we're taking to implement the 6th cycle of RENA has helped to continue Sandag serve as a model statewide. And as a result of that, we're getting formula funds that we've never seen before. We've passed a bill that's unprecedented. Other agencies are looking to that to try to run something similar this year through AB 1730. And we're continuing to work very closely with our delegation to elevate the projects and priorities of this board in Sacramento and throughout. So we will continue to keep up the work, and we'll be back next month to talk to you about our new legislative program.
Thank you. Next executive committee meeting is 8 a.m. on Valentine's Day. You're there with flowers and cookies and candy. What could be more romantic than that?
Yeah. Saturday meeting, huh?
I always look forward to it.
I know. I thought
Address the AB 805.
Sorry.
I know it's difficult when you